All right.
Hello from Florida. It is basically about 11 Eastern Standard Time, and actually today we lost an hour in in the United States. And I'd like to welcome you wherever you are, and at whatever time of the day it is. You're going to be looking at the recorded version of this program. And as you know, this program is actually, I devised this to give a chance to our good soul seekers who have been asking me questions on the Facebook, and we've been going back and forth texting. And, it was getting very, very overwhelming. And it never does the job as I think this would do, because it gives a chance to a person to come in and what is it to do? Recite a paper, which also gives them the motivation to go there, search a paper, read it carefully, so they can recite it for other people. You know what I'm saying? There's one thing that we look at things and it's gone. Another thing is that we make a production of it because we want to teach other people.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you this. I mean, the best way to learn is to teach. Essentially, because when you interface with another mind, you really, really bring all of you on the surface, because you have to explain,
Right.
and we're getting telepathic, and a lot of us are actually already, but it's a long way to go to be, fully telepathic. So words is what we, communicate with. Anyway, so this program is for that. And also, we should really give a special thanks to all these wonderful soul seekers and our soul family members who accept to come in and, do this recital, because they're doing a great service to humanity. They are documenting something or archiving it so it could be heard. I mean, I've always wanted to do this, go on a voice, but I don't have time. I really don't have time. The only time, and I'm getting more and more with interviews and this, and I've opened up to the public now. So interviews are coming day and night. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? And there are other programs that are coming up. So anyway, uh, it's a great service, I think, to public. And please join me in thanking today. We have Connie Misiolek, who is a wonderful lady. She's an avid soul seeker. She's a true scholar, and I know she goes through these papers with a fine-tooth comb because
I love them.
she texts me and she's communicates with me. So we're delighted to have her today. Okay. And the paper that she's going to be reading, by the way, I wanted to tell you this. Over the years, a lot of people have asked me to do videos, audios. They've been very busy professionals who were very, very avid followers. And when I stopped doing videos about, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, was the last time I did, as a series of, instructional videos, they stopped coming to me. And they said, we really love to listen to you. And actually, let me make an example of one of them. Is a fashion designer in Los Angeles, and she was even one time calling me on the phone, and I could hear myself in the background, because she said that your video is running all the time, and while I'm working with the models and all this kind of stuff, I'm listening to you. I can do this, but I can't sit down and read. So there are these kind of people, right? And then there are other people who are dyslexic, and they say that. And there are also people who have vision problems. Many people have said that to me in the past. And then we have the greatest majority of the public, which unfortunately, they're not 100% like Connie is. So, they don't search to go and read things, they look at things on the surface. This is why I came up with these long abstracts on my papers, which are not even acceptable to an international journal because they're just long, too long. because they limit you so many words. And then also the next thing that I did, I came up with these instructional slides. And then after that, since the questions came and came and came, and I was trying to be very comprehensive answering their questions. So I thought, not many people see this. So I made them in the form of a slide. So instead of 10 or 12 people, 5 people, whatever, going to actually look at that comment, now they're coming out and they're really looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Few of them, make comments or that we can see that they're visible, the who's who. But there's tons of people who later have come in and said, we just don't interact, but we read your papers, whatever like that. So there are lots of people behind the scene. We don't see them. And this program is nice. It would be nice for them also because they can come into picture. I mean, I'm hoping after a while that we had this program, and if it's successful, you guys all get to know each other,
Great.
And I tell you something, I may even consider, first of all, after a while, giving the hosting of this program, what I'm doing right now, to either the very same person who's reading the paper or to a host who would do my job, what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it would relieve me from, spending this tool, because I'm going to be sitting here listening to Connie. This one is a short paper. Some of the papers are very long. They take about, there are 30, 40 pages. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing I was going to tell you is just the following. If the program goes well and we do the same thing, you could have group discussions.
This is what I'm hoping to do. The plan was to get together. Another gal picked up one, saw that I was reading Merkaba Mechanics. She said, "Can I read this?" And she comes back and I have a store here and I can make copies. So she gave me $60. She says, "Print whatever you can. I want to read." So we're with her and a couple others. We're just waiting for schedules to clear. We want to get a group because I like the idea of gathering with people as well. Zoom is wonderful, but yeah, and this would be awesome to even just listen and discuss. Yeah, this is a perfect way to bring this out. I mean, I'm enjoying it very much.
Wonderful. You're just getting started, Connie. Hopefully you'll enjoy it more and more. But yeah, I think Connie would be a wonderful person that I will talk to her directly, but I think she would be a wonderful person conducting these meetings in the future. She's already talked to me along with several other people about they're having their local meets that they discuss, these papers and, all this stuff. And, if this damn, COVID, excuse my French, but if it didn't exist, hopefully you could meet more, and I think you should, Anyway, the other thing I want to tell you is that I have formed the Institute of Spiritual Science, but I've never had time to go and actually bring it into manifestation, physical manifestation, because it was set up with the thought of creating a university, okay?
Oh, wow.
And having, conducting conferences, and not just my own stuff, but bringing scholars from all over the world, just like international conferences that you see, as well as having spiritual retreats in which that we go collectively, we go to a site, like we go to Egypt and, and deal with the, all this stuff, the Giza, the fourth Stargate, speaking about all this stuff and seeing what we can see. Some of these things are, of course, underground Stargates and portals, and they're changing. They've been redesigned because the negative aliens took over, and now we have taken them back, actually. They've dismantled their structures.
Great news.
But all that stuff, I mean, I could talk to you about Egypt for a week. You know what I'm saying? So we can go on the side, we can see some of that history, we can see how the negative aliens were involved in there. Now, those sort of things you're not going to find on Wikipedia, and that kind of stuff you're not going to find in books, because this information has been very selectively, hidden from us. Okay. So that was another thing. And then also, I was even thinking, in fact, even I was trying to put some money away myself I even looked for land to start building the institute. Okay. In fact,
Oh, nice.
the building that I sold it was my wife's clinic. Okay. And it was sitting there. I didn't have time to go there. So I was thinking, let's start this to put the institute right here. There are enough rooms, there are stuff, we can start the institute. But no, that's not it. When I go to this, it'll be probably a fundraising, it'll be a joint effort, and we actually will build that. By the way, I'm just going to jump the gun and tell you this right now. I've been approached to put about 144 of these all over the world. So it's at the very beginning. I had just been approached. You know what I'm saying? And it's putting what is it? What can I say? A program together in which disclosure is fully given to the public in telling people about everything, their history, and telling them about negative aliens, telling them about what's going on, telling them about ascension, telling them about, as well as teaching them about everything, not just their consciousness, reality, holographic existence, but about their physiognomy, about your morphogenetic system, the genetic system, all this stuff that is striving so hard to publish for you. And by the way, I've written a lot of it. Okay. But they need to be refined in such a way that they are publication ready.
Sure.
They have an abstract, they have the references. It takes me about 2-3 hours to just put references together. You've probably seen papers have 140, 120, 100. I can't even put a paper below 100 references anymore. And I try not to duplicate stuff. If there are 4 papers, I put the one that's more pertinent to what I'm discussing. Anyway, enough of this. So I think this program is wonderful, brings everybody together. I've always talked about our soul family. And I think this program brings the soul family together so we can see who we are. Like, it's the first time I see Connie, see picture or stuff. And this is wonderful to meet her in person. So anyway, without further ado, we have covered almost everything. If you want me to talk about something, please write to me. Or in this particular program, you can write to Connie because it's her recital, and we can always perfect this better and tailor it so people can use it better. And I want to just invite all of you, okay, to consider coming and giving a recital on a paper. You can just read it a couple of times, make sure you understand everything, words you can directly contact with me before going on, so you feel comfortable. It's not like taken right there and say, how do you pronounce this? You know what I'm saying? I'm available for you. I've always been, okay? So, and as I said, it's the same wonderful thing. By the way, to top it up, I want to just tell you this. You are heading to become avatars. I don't know when. It depends on how much higher frequencies you've already accreted. What is your light quotient? What's your natural frequency of vibration and all this stuff. But you cannot become avatars without totally understanding the phenomenon of unconditional love, something that is too alien to people, because negative aliens are alien to it, and they have imposed everything on us. All the sewer you see out there you don't like about your next door neighbor, family, friends, outsiders, I don't know, strangers and stuff, they are not organic. They're not from God. It's a virus. It's from a virus. It's an anti-God, anti-creational, anti-organic system. It's what I call negative aliens. You know what I'm saying? It's a reversal of your consciousness.
Right.
You're going away because they can't stream upon you these things anymore and all this stuff. And then you can grow the way that you were meant to. We haven't grown at all for at least 210,000 years. And this nonsense they're telling you, cave this, Darwin this, ape stuff, is all garbage.
Right.
It's a blasphemy to the God's creational effort. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Marvel, I should say. So anyway, my dear, with all that introduction, again, you're all welcome to write to me, and if you want to recite something, it will give you a chance to, one-to-one, just like we're doing with Connie today, and we will be discussing afterwards. And you can ask your questions instead of typing on Facebook and just a little bit at a time. I still try to answer those as much as I can, but you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so allow me to tell you, I think, let me show you what, okay, you see the share screen now?
I do.
Okay, wonderful. So the paper that Connie is going to be reading, it's actually a short essay. I don't even call it the paper. It's called Individual versus Collective Planetary Ascension. And I'm pretty sure she has a good reason for having chosen this, okay? Among all the other stuff that I know she's been through. So you can find this actually on WordPress.com. Multidimensional Consciousness is one of the 5 blogs, actually, which are 5 different parts of the server. I use this just as an archival system as a server to archive my papers. Okay, it was supposed to be like each one of them as a website with a blogging and all this stuff, but I didn't use it for that. I just put the papers in there, and that's all there is to it. But anyway, if you look at any of these, any paper you find, if you can go Google my name, you know what I'm saying, find one paper, and there's going to be hundreds of papers showing probably, on your screen. And if you click on any of them, the one your favorite, and you go to it, you will get to something like this. The design is like 5 different things because I used the standard designs of, I didn't sit down and design anything. I just used their templates, you know what I'm saying? And the template for multidimensional consciousness.wordpress.com, which is this particular blog, is like this. But all of them have this thing, and I think with the exception of the one on Ascension, all of them have this thing in there. And I put there all the, a file containing, and let me show you one of them for example, this is, I started this about negative aliens. And if you look at this, it has the papers on negative aliens. And if you click on anything, let's say click on this.
Oh, nice.
It goes to who are negative aliens. You can get, and that's a paper such as similar actually essay to, and so basically, if you, let me go back in here, if you go to the top of this, you can go on human energetics, find papers in there, let's just do it for the sake of argument. You see, these are papers in there, and I'm going to organize this a little better. I have not been very good at this because I don't spend time on such things, And so, these are some of the papers that are all regarding to our physiognomy, bioenergetics, you know what I'm saying, like coronavirus papers are here, etc. So, okay, so you can go ahead and anything you want, genetics, karma, spiritual related topics, and I'm not going to just, but you can go click and some of these things I've put them on Facebook. You've seen that I've in the past I have put the link, papers on genetics, papers on whatever. That's where I got them from. Anyway, going back to this. Oh, okay. This was this is the paper that Connie is going to be reading. And some of these papers, not all of them, about 130 of them, are available also on academia.edu, which you can see in here, academia.edu. All right. And so you can go and see it there. Now, this is a PDF version. The other ones initially used to be JPEG versions, and I'm replacing them with the Word version, so people can actually, use their readers. What is it? The translators, or they can reblog it easily or whatever. Anyway, this is the other one, and if you go to academia.edu, okay, and then if you go to independent.academia.edu/my name, full name, it's going to give you the list of all these papers, okay? And if you go down sufficiently down here, and that's where I got it from, let me see if I even find it. So somewhere around here, there it is. That's the paper she's going to be reading. And if you click on that, it goes back to the one that I already showed you, okay? Which is right there, okay? So basically, this is what it is. You can find these papers. They're very easy. They're free to get and all that stuff. So with that introduction, the other thing I'm going to say that is recently, let's see, as you know, I have started a new blog, and all these things are appearing there. For example, here is Sue Belanza did a recital. Before that was Sumaira. This is all last week. I've been pretty busy, okay? This week we're gonna have 4, starting with Connie and Sunday. And so it's gonna be filling up. It's gonna be all this stuff. So if you go in there, you can always go in there. And I'll try to put a link of this at the end of the papers too, so you can click and immediately go to it. But anyway, I ask you to support the effort and go ahead and subscribe, because when the number of subscription reaches to a certain number, there are some provisions with YouTube in terms of, disseminating the information out there and all that stuff. So let me just stop sharing in here. So I ask you to go ahead and subscribe to this thing. With all that very lengthy introduction, I will give the podium or the screen, so to speak, to Connie, and she'll be reciting, and she'll be telling about herself and whatever she wants to say about this paper, whatever. And it's the ball is on her court right now. Go ahead, Connie.
Well, thank you, Mohsen. This is a pleasure. Very excited to do this. You really hit some points with me. I mean, a lot of this stuff you write that I know, but I could never explain. So I thank you, and I'm happy to be proud of this program. I chose individual versus collective planetary ascension, and I shall begin. The following short essay is a result of responding to a soul member's question, who is an avid soul seeker, that was furnished in the form of 28 tutorial slides posted on Facebook, also inspired by providing a tutorial for the members. Please note that this group of slides attempted to particularly address the second part of the question that inquires about the fact as to whether we are to experience a collective ascension or as one soul at a time. Since the subject of light projection, example via corona mass ejections, or CMEs, being the primary impetus for our consciousness expansion, was discussed in a multitude of slides posted before on Facebook, as well in many papers published in the past. Knowing the individual who posed the question as adept in appreciation of the facts with respect to the effect of CMEs on consciousness expansion, evolution, and ascension, and sensing that this was not the crux of his inquiry, the author herein attempts to dispense was regurgitating the info regarding CMEs and concentrated on the second part of the question that is thought to be the subject of the inquiry. At the same time, as it is done in many cases, the author tries to expand upon the question posed and discuss many pertinent info closely associated with the questions of collective versus individual ascension for the benefit of the public at large. Hopefully, this essay will serve as a source of overall enlightenment for you. Question: regarding a grand solar event, aka mass coronal injection, is this something that is to occur on a collective level, or is it something that is purely relative to one soul or soul aspect's level of frequency? Response: evolution is effectuated by attaining expanded consciousness, something that can only occur on an individual level. This is the very nature of consciousness expansion. You must earn or acquire it. You must own it, making it your own. Consciousness is gifted by God, but its expansion demands your own efforts. Ultimately, ascension is always designed and meant to occur one soul at a time. Yet the universal family of Melchizedek, who were the last ascension hosts for the planetary event, became fallen to the dark force. This, exasperated by the Thothean Luciferian rebellion, practically gave the negative aliens carte blanche to do as they please to Earth humans, particularly blocking our evolutional capability. As a result of negative aliens controlling Earth and humans, the original ascension plan that was divided into 6 individual time cycles within a 26,556 years, with the scheme of ascension occurring gradually at the end of each time cycle, propelling humanity to the next stage of evolution, became a sham, inundated with phantom ascension program, culminating in the false New Age purported spirituality. Due to the true guardian founders' distant connection to lower dimensional planes, example 3D Earth, in which its local consciousness affairs were delegated to Thoth Lucifer as main ascension emissary, together with the Melchizedek family, having taken the task being the ascension host, the reptilian form of patriarchal domination adopted by the Melchizedek family became rampant on Earth, leading to extreme oppression and tyranny. As a result of negative aliens literally having carte blanche on Earth, plundering the Earth resources as well as siphoning energies from its inhabitants, including humanity, further human soul fragmentations eventually gave rise to not just rampant reversal of consciousness and accumulation of black goo in DNA, but also generated tremendous energetic waste and miasma in the Earth consciousness fields. The dilapidated consciousness field of Earth gave rise to creation a vast number of shadow cells, dark entities, including demons, moon chain entities, and such that all became parasitic vampiric, depending on the divine energetics of human and other living things. This created a highly dense and compacted consciousness field for the Earth realm, inundated with very low frequency of consciousness, creating a suitable atmosphere for extracting consciousness louche for parasitic consumption. The negative aliens had already devised a sophisticated doomsday AI machinery for effective extraction of magnetic energies of Earth as well as louche from its inhabitants. This machinery was comprised of a biocomputer running on mind control software that would impose holographic inserts on original natural consciousness reality field of Earth. The negative aliens' doomsday AI machinery was comprised of a capture and reversed Earth stargates and reversal grid system with its headquarters located in Stonehenge, UK, former 11th Stargate, an NRG grid with main operating veins in primarily Iran Gate reverse 10th Stargate and the Stargate of Giza, former 4th Stargate, as well as networks in Calgary, Canada, Asia, and stretching practically all over the world. The negative aliens operation is also overseen by the moon infrastructure and what is situated on Saturn. These are primarily controlled by negative aliens headquartered in the Metagalactic Core, former 8th dimensional universal stargate, and more locally through the astral plane, lower 4th dimensions. This operation is governed by a black hole technology that manages to harvest magnetic energies all over its quadrant of universe and stores its excess energies in a black hole Moloch tank in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The fundamental characteristics of negative aliens' doomsday AI machinery is that it manages through its local infrastructures referred to as the NET, N-E-T, on Earth, with its artificial magnetic field generator, gravitron, on the moon to compact dark matter through a scheme of pressurized squeezing, very much similar to crystals, piezoelectric effect, to create electricity. This is accomplished by changing the quantum ratio of magnetic to electric spin, changing the operation of the Merkaba field through metatronic reversal. Pressurized squeezing of dark matter through through piezoelectric scheme of generating electricity causes severe compaction of quantum particles of matter and augmentation of density of constitution, changing the magnetic field of Earth. This is manifested through a change seen in the staff of the Earth being offset by 23 degrees, serving the purpose of aligning Earth with negative aliens, Abaddon star, directing the magnetic energies of Earth to their black hole Moloch tank located at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, concentrating our attention on the bioenergetics and the consciousness field of humanity. The AI machinery managed to create mind control software programming via holographic inserts in the natural divine system of reality, projection via low frequency electromagnetic pulses, a form of EMP, that would instigate or project impulses in humanity, compelling them to engage in self-destructive conducts ranging from extreme sexual misery, promiscuity, deviancy, gender confusion, materialism to tendency for addiction, dependency. The very so-called cardinal sins are constructs of negative aliens designed to promote religious hypocrisy, superstition, and mayhem in human society, compelling them to engage in anger, hatred, futile, prejudicial trends, even eugenics, culminating in useless conflict and wars from a form of divide and conquer strategy, also leading to a never-ending cycle of victimization driven by victim consciousness, compelling a victim to eventually become a victimizer in the near future, repeating the self-destructive cycle. The human being's bioenergetic as well as genetic fields have been contaminated by the dark or shadow forms, demons that have practically no alternative to survive but to parasitically feed upon energies of other solar, sentient, organic consciousness beings. These creatures often try to avoid self-consumption due to having been confined to a closed loop of energetics as a result of their total separation from the God source and its open loop of energetics through which it perpetually supplies consciousness, energies to all sentient organic solar consciousness beings. The human being's contained bioenergetic as well as genetic fields is often invaded through attachment or even possessions by dark forms, who commonly penetrate the human field through tentacles resembling attached cords that are used to siphon human energies. Furthermore, as a result of unusual magnetic fields imposed on humans, their dark matter core manifestation body and the human elemental matter is highly compacted and densified that interferes with the process of free flow of consciousness through it. Note that constitution retards consciousness. The compaction, desensification of the human elemental matter and the core manifestation body lead to reception and resonance with low frequential electromagnetic energies that incite self-destructive, low consciousness behaviors typified by anxiety, fear, anger, violence, that often lead to crime, conflict, wars, as well as derailed addictive sexual behaviors typified by promiscuity, molestations, pedophilia, rape, sodomy, oral sex, etc., often exacerbated by promotion of nudity, pornography, prostitution, human trafficking, as well as futile, materialistic tendencies exemplified by greed and theft. Negative aliens have also managed to totally distort the human bioenergetic and consciousness field through devising frequency fences that interfere with the natural process of chakric DNA strand activation, blocking humanity from accessing its inner spiritual and future aspects of multiple ways, including imposing gender splitting as well as gender confusion that hinders the process of Hieros Gamos, sacred marriage, which is a prerequisite condition for first accessing the 0-point field prior to the process of ascension to any higher dimensional field, harmonic universe. As a result of false ascension matrix devised and distorted by the negative aliens, as well as their totally atrocious contamination, distortion, and reversal of the Earth and humanity's consciousness fields, a clarion call was made to the guardian founders to intercede with the process of ascension during the end of the ascension cycle ending on 12/21/2012, which accordingly was relayed or reverberated to higher, extra, and transdimensional benevolent Master Christos collective from higher universes that resurrected the Palladorians' covenants for resurrecting the lost souls of Terra and others. Of particular interest among all benevolent transdimensional beings that respond favorably to the clarion call by the guardian founders to help with the process of Earth humanity ascension came from the Aurora Collective from the next universe, who have graciously accepted to oversee the task of re-encrypting the entire dark matter core body manifestation and the morphogenic field of Earth and humanity. Through such an effort, the gateways to the Andromedan galaxy as the hub to the next universe and the neutron window have opened up. What you refer to as the grand solar effect in reality is comprised of this stellar activation of the holographic beams as well as high frequency light transmission from the sun in the form of CMEs, solar flares, etc., that interface with the surface of the Earth, also reaching humanity, as well as the aurora plasma reaching the Earth core via a system of gates that include the Mother's Ark gates, the Ark of the Covenant gates, and the Pelorian gates interfacing with the core of the Andromeda galaxy with a neutron window operating in the higher universe. The plasmic light we are currently receiving are only fully effective of our bodies are able to accrete the very high frequency associated with them. In particular, their effectiveness is bound by their principle of free will that states no outside source could ever interfere with the involuntary process of your consciousness expansion, evolution, or ascension. Accordingly, this all requires not only your consent, but your active participation, and both are contingent on your spiritual awakening, while the latter demands your spiritual enlightenment. However you look at it, the process of consciousness expansion, evolution, and ascension are all relative to one soul and one soul's aspect level of frequency. True, the plasma light are received by the collective mass, but their degree of accretion and thus effectively depends on the individual itself. Accordingly, there is a wide difference between such effectiveness, determining the urgency in which the process of ascension can occur for each individual and how fast it could happen. Due to the falsity nature of the initial ascension plan, the so-called 5D ascension, a better, effective new ascension plan is in place now. And it is now ordained that the ascension windows, gateways to higher dimensions, shall remain open until it is all fully accomplished. However, this may take much longer than it was initially envisioned or deemed to be practical. Excuse me. It may take as much as 1,000 years to effectively clear, cleanse, rescue, and re-encrypt the morphogenics of all lost souls. The new ascension plan only pertains to those who are deemed to be on the ascension path. These individuals are considered as victims of circumstance regarding the interference of the negative aliens with respect to the process of consciousness, expansion, evolution. These individuals require concerted program of re-education and spiritual enlightenment that varies from individual to individual, that depend on their current extent of natural frequency of vibration, light, quotient of consciousness. As for the negative aliens and their cohorts, who are either parasitic in nature or those who are deeply possessed by such energetic parasites, who are viewed as extremely malevolent, who have an established track record of infringing upon all right of free will and consciousness expansibility of others, they shall never be able to incarnate in an organic body, nor have the privileges bestowed upon all solar sentient organic consciousness beings. That includes procreation, multidimensionality, evolutional capability, and perpetuity. The negative aliens and their cohorts shall be taken to the edge of the universe in the Andalusia system in the Orion Eridanus constellation and confined within a bubble cloud, making the rest of the universe quarantine of their presence. There they shall remain to function within their own created closed loop of energetics upon their own volition, without any possibility of ever siphoning or harvesting the divine or organic energies of others again, until upon depletion of their harvested stored energy, they self-consume and perish for eternity. So shall it be. Amen. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That last
Yes, good stuff.
was the, the concluding part, that there is justice. But, what you need to realize, God is not a wrathful, punishing, judgmental
Right.
God. That's what you've seen even through Christianity. And Christianity is one of the softest form of,
Control.
What is it? Faith or whatever.
The control, yeah.
Because what you go to Jewish, wow.
Mm-hmm.
For a night. Even you go to Islam is the infidels, and then they have to be destroyed, jihad and all that stuff. So, but anyway, even, I mean, Christianity is tremendously distorted anyway. But the thing is that even that speaks of Armageddon, end of days, the concept of sin, which is absurd. There is no such thing as sin. Sin is if you realize that you have made an error and you have to correct yourself. And I tell you something, God has given all kinds of leniency and provisions for that. You know, your consciousness, if you want to understand who you are a consciousness mass composed of a conglomerate set of quanta of energy, creating a mass. Okay, that's a mass consciousness. And consider this as a mass being connected, what I like to, model as a spring. It's actually a helical spring that twists,
Yep.
back.
I understand. Yep.
It's a helical spring, and you're attached to God. So God is the point of support. You're right here, and you're anchored at some dimensional level around the cosmos, depending on the degree of your light quotient. What I also introduce as propinquity means how far away you've got from God, and also more scientifically understandable from a 3D type of mainstream science is the natural frequency of vibration. Okay, we all have a characteristic signature, which is our natural frequency of vibration. And what that really means is that how fast these quanta of energy, and we're talking quanta at the quantum level, it's inconceivable. You're not talking about atomic level. You're not talking about electrons, protons. You're not even talking about subatomic levels beyond that as ribbons of energy. You're talking quanta. It's the smallest units of energy, okay?
Wow.
And so these are twisting, How fast they're twisting, it gives you an indication of your natural frequency, okay? And I'll talk about that a little bit more. And that is really the speed, the quantum speed of going back and forth, okay? So in essence, your God itself is a big wave. It's a scalar wave. It's a wave that does not vacillate up and down. It can propagate longitudinally, potential to do that. And it does it at infinite energy, okay? And between what you can imagine is plus or minus infinity of time. But really there is no time, it's the now moment.
Right.
Okay? So that breaks apart into its offsprings as us. So we have little quanta of energy, but we have to do this. And it goes in the first law of, cosmos or energy, which energy has to be conserved, which means if you are spiraling about God in a counterclockwise, you're going away from it, it has to be offsetted by going clockwise, going back to it.
Right.
That's the principle of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created, nor it could be destroyed. It could only convert from one source to another, like to magnetic, or even later, when you come into applications, chemical, all kinds of different things, mechanical, whatever. Are you with me?
I am.
So anyway, those are some of the most fundamental things that we have to understand. And they're very simple. They sound at the very beginning, because they haven't been taught in school, this quantum mechanics and stuff, sounds so mouth-filling. It's nothing. It's really nothing. It should become very, very second nature for people because you look at yourself and say, I'm a quanta of energy. This body, flesh, and all this stuff is a secondary effect. It's a manifest. Your consciousness can create everything from inside and it's outside. And your physical body is the outer effect of what exists naturally, inherently, innately inside. Okay, and that is part of the quantum energy of God, connected to God. So going back to that spring thing, you see, you do this, practically, of course, more complicated. You do this, this, and if you get severed, forget it. As long as you're attached, you're connected to God, you get the energy. The energy comes from God. So you venture out to learn, self-discover, expand your consciousness through spiritual enlightenment and all this kind of stuff. And then you come back and get revitalized, and then you go for the next one. So you can make mistakes. God, we started out by saying that God is forgiving, is not wrathful, and all this stuff. There is no punishment.
Right. No, I never. It sounded absurd to me when it was taught to me. It really did. So.
Except this is more of a scientific approach of it, aspect of it that undeniable even to the most what is it, skeptical scientists who think that they know everything. I mean, I was a scientist. I am a scientist. So you have to make an allowance. You have to try to get out of this box that's a prison.
Definitely.
Kept you. And then you can see, once the windows open, you say, wow, look at this. We're out there. And then this, I mean, Einstein was very, very confined within one space-time. He even ventured into quantum entanglement and wormhole theory and things like that, which I really actually think they were proposed by other people who wanted to just write a joint paper with him because he was very celebrated. Now, whether he was a hypocrite, he was limited, or he was just simply enjoying a good career and didn't want to, what is it?
Upset it? Or?
Yeah, upset it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because you're not supposed to go in those directions. I mean, people have been killed, people throughout the centuries, as soon as you get into, see, they have what they call allowed and unallowed topics.
Oh, right.
So when you talk about such things that would create any form of lead to any kind of siphonage of energy, they love that because they need the energy. This is their mission to come in here. They're hunter-gatherers. We're animals to them.
Oh, yeah.
They hate us, okay? And they know that we're potentially very smart, extremely unique, so they hate us even more, okay? But they try to confine us in such a way that we don't know what's going on in us, so they blank slate us, all this kind of stuff. They've controlled our death and all this recycling or reincarnation is all their thing. This is not God. You're supposed to be eternal. I mean, I know this is kind of hard for us to, at the beginning, say, me, I'm going to be eternal. For millennia, we've thought about fountain of youth and all this stuff. And your naturally is there. I mean, crystal waters run to you. They run through me all the time. Actually, I have problems with it. They're overdone. They collect in my throat. And they collect in there right now. I get dry and I have to clear my throat because they come in, they go in your blood and they spiritualize your blood and go back, It's in pineal and pituitary. Yeah, they get milked and then they form the crystal waters. I mean, it's a very high frequency type of a thing, Anyway, we're all gonna get to that, I mean, this body is getting re-encrypted, as you read, the Aurora beings, the Guardian founders, they're extra dimensional beings from next universe, actually, higher universe. We talk about 700 heavens, they're from the second higher. And they're here, they're helping, everybody's helping. There are all kinds of wonderful, wonderful beings are here. So the negative aliens they're running for their lives now. Because they didn't do that before. First of all, they didn't know locally what was going on, or they were just not, it's kind of like having a big corporation and the CEO is way out there and then puts these people that he trusts or she trusts, and they start cheating and lying and stealing. And, and one time, the CEO comes back and says, what has been going on? And that's what's going on. And the other thing is that we've come to a situation that, they have abused the system so much.
Oh, God.
That the creation is a peril.
Oh.
It's like the virus taking over the organism altogether. But they don't understand that human beings were not created like that. We're the only connection to God among all the species on this planet, on this universe. We are the fail-safe. Have you read that I spoke of fail-safe mechanism?
No, I have not.
You want to hear about it?
I do. Definitely.
Let's go back to this to the nearest example that we said. It said this spring, expands and then contracts. So it turns out, think about it. Think about a pendulum or a spring. You have mass attached to a spring connected to some point. There's so much you can pull this. If it really, you abuse, and, it breaks it reaches an elastic limit. That's what the aliens did. And once it does that, there is no connection to God. There is no going back and revitalizing your energies. You see what I'm saying? So
I do.
So then you become disconnected. And then when you're disconnected, you're running for your life because you're going to be self-consuming. Whatever energy you've mustered by that point is it. And after that, it's the proverbial metaphysics saying that a snake eats its tail. You know what I'm saying? The snake eats its tail until it gets back to his head, done. There's nothing more to eat. So anyway, that's a fail-safe mechanism.
Okay.
And I have described these things, and you might have seen the papers under negative and positive karma, under subject of entropy and syntropy. Entropy is when the system becomes closed system. See, as long as you do this back and forth and you connect it to God, you're in an open system.
Okay.
That means openly you can get free energy from God, and you can be immortal. We talked about mortality, right?
Right.
Are you with me? And
yes.
So once you get severed from that, you can't be immortal because you're going to self-consume and you're going to die. Your soul is going to just die. It doesn't. The whole cosmos, still the energy is there, but it gets dissipated in another form. It eventually goes back to God again. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
One God.
I do.
Only one cosmos. So anyway, that's a fail-safe mechanism. You know what I'm saying? So
I think I do.
Law of one, the provisions of a law of one are there not to dictate to you anything. God doesn't want any, praising of itself.
Right.
It's good for you. It brings prosperity to you. So you look at it with this derailed, reversed, futile, idiotic, I could say, philosophy that, what have you done for me lately? It's all about me, not we. And I am a separate person, narcissism, egotistical behavior, elitism, all this stuff. It's garbage, it's nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because
I do.
once you do this, you disconnect yourself. Unless you can be a god and go and maintain yourself, don't ever think about it even. Because we're part of a group, we're connected, and all of us has that magnificence. Now, each part of it has the same holographic magnificence because we're self-similar, fractalized aspect of God. Each one of us is a God. And I know you might have problems with that. They say, are you talking about my next door neighbor? He is a real.
Oh man.
The poor guy
Well,
doesn't know what's going on in him. He's
excuse me.
inundated by this male chauvinism. You know what I'm saying? Misogyny. So he beats his wife, or he, beats his daughter or children, and he thinks he's of the house and all this nonsense. And there's no equality. I mean, that's one of the main thing that has brought us down. One contributing factor, because half of us is missing. I mean, or at least unused. I mean, unutilized. You say used. It's been actually abused. But the females,
right,
equally as intelligent. They can be, you can blow your mind to talk to someone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're one of them,
right? Right.
So anyway.
Oh man.
Yeah, but that's the fail-safe mechanism, because if you don't abide by these provisions of law of one, which is the unity consciousness, you think yourself, you're separate, and you are some hotshot and standalone entity. And you think that you're superior, everybody's inferior, and all this narcissism. Narcissism get into psychopathic behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sociopathic behavior.
I do.
All this stuff. And if you don't feel connected to God mainly, and also to each one of us, because all of us is part of God. So being connected to God, that means all of us are entangled with each other. And that's a quantum phenomenon. Entanglement means we know about each other. We know about these quanta of energy, where they are, what they're doing. No matter where you can be on the other side of the, not even universe, cosmos, you could connect. That's how you connect to the 0-point field.
Okay.
Oh, it's incredible. And
oh, I'm experiencing a lot, but there's a lot more I need to remember, if you will.
Oh, there's the magnificent you. In 2011, yes. I wrote a series of paper. I think one of them called the Magnificent You. They were shorter papers of a few pages. I published about 150 papers. This is when the clarion call had come in, and I was just to write, express. So I wrote about 150 papers. They were not as detailed as some of the papers you see now, but because I went to everything. So I question everything. I said, they say we're beings of light. What does that mean? So I went to light mechanics, photons, all this stuff. Look at the research of the Germans and Russians who did a great job about that. And they actually showed that, when we die, light goes into the universe. There's a light goes out of you. And they introduce such things as biphotons. You might want to come and read some of those papers. We are being of light. We are connected. The principle of quantum entanglement and all this. So they're very, very scientific. I mean, but they go back into necessities. I don't lose myself in mathematics. This is not why I'm here. I'm not trying to impress anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The best way I can impress you is to get in your heart. and then you can resonate with me. Don't you say that to me, Connie, all the time?
What's that?
That I knew this.
Right?
Yep.
It's like I mentioned, I just happened to come across your slides, and it's like you're writing stuff I know that I could never articulate. I mean, it's stuff I know inside. So yes, we're connected for sure, because it's stuff I knew. I know. I don't know how to explain it anymore.
Well,
Other than this is a wonderful trip.
well, human beings are, you know, we have the genetic library of not just humanity, but all species within the Nabataean universe.
Wow.
So in your genes, you're not going to believe this, but in your genes, there are instructions how to go and rebuild a mouse or dinosaurs or all
Right.
this. We're a genetic library. All the information is tucked in those chromosomes.
Wow.
97% of your genes are called junk genes. They're not junk genes, they're God's information. They're all in your genes. And with that, all this knowledge that I'm saying is there. Now, what happens is that if you read it and see it and all this, it germinates. It opens up the gene. It says, I know this.
Mm.
I'm not surprised. When people say this to me, I just think that they should not, let that work on their, because some people do, they lose their capacity. And I used to actually get very excited at 2, 3, 1 o'clock when things would pour out in my mind. And I said, my God, nobody on the planet, there's nobody at MIT or Caltech who would even come close to understand what I'm going to say. And so that, I mean, I've been a scientist and I've been into all these theories, and if you think you are
I get it.
intense, I am as intense as you can get when it comes to knowledge. Always students, professors.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So, but I used to get very excited, and then I had to contain myself. So, if you don't contain yourself, there's no more knowledge coming in because you don't pay attention.
Right. No, I get it. Okay.
In fact, I was yelled at a long time ago in 2011 by an entity who contacted a medium, and then this medium left a message, said Dr. Sarfarazi in the conference. So I want to say, yes, what is it? Who are you? What do you want? I thought had some kind of message for me. And she said, listen, you need to listen. I said, what are you talking about? She was yelling at me. And then she went there. She actually went into, this entity came through her and started talking with this archaic language that was so hard for me to even understand. And it was basically saying, you're called, but the phone is always busy. You have to listen. You have to try to communicate with the higher dimensions. And that was right at the very beginning. That was when my clarion called, 2011. So you have to listen. You can't be too excited. You have to give it a whirl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Anyway, let me go back and finish my thoughts. I hate to start something and not finish it. I said there's two kinds of information: it's allowed and not allowed. Remember, by the negative energy.
Yes. Yes.
The allowed thing is all has to do with further mind controlling you, further putting you into a box, making you stupid, keeping you stupid, so they can siphon energy, treat you like an animal. Okay, and we can go and look at a lot of things.
Right.
The unallowed things is such things like aliens, abductions.
Right.
So forget about negative things and forget about the reptilian. The first time that the reptilian stuff came out, and one of the people is David Icke from England, who was a reporter. That poor man was laughed at, sneered at, because he started talking about reptilians that exist and all this. So what? And he was saying the queen is half reptilian, and Or this stuff is totally correct. Now we understand them from the first principle. How this person act like this from a holographic point of view, from the point of what is possession, what's attachment, what is parasitic feeding, you know, and we can no longer be afraid of demons. All these horror movies, like 80s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Demon is just
Oh, I do.
hungry, dead energy entity run by AI who's desperate to suck your energy. So the succubus and all the stuff that they spoke of, sitting on your chest, beating on your chest. Actually, some of them try to entice sexual stuff. Because sexual energy is a very, very potent human energy. Sexual and also blood. Yeah, because you do anything that has to do with procreation, because you create another body, another creation. It goes back and forth. So the energies are as potent as they are. So that point of conception, the climax, the climax means the energy climax. That means the energy is through the roof because brain create something. No. Same thing as with women's monthly stuff, you know, releasing egg and stuff. And that's why the negative aliens are targeting all that stuff. And the other thing is your blood. You have energy in your blood, and that's why they want blood. That's why all their SRAs and, you know what I'm saying, satanic rituals. And that's why they push wars on us and all that stuff. Anyway, so unallowed or disallowed is that you don't want to tell people about negative aliens. You don't want to tell about reptilians. You don't want to tell. So they have programmed the others to laugh at you. I mean, until just recently, just a few years, 10 years ago, you know, there are people out there. They think abductions, aliens. You don't know. You know,
I know. It blows my mind.
We came from
that's what they think. You can look out there and say we're the only ones. I don't get that. Doesn't make sense.
We're special.
But I do run into those people.
We're very special, but we're damaged, unfortunately. But it's getting fixed. The guardians are here, and hopefully in the very near future, we'll go back to the God's world, because 7 higher heavens, we were the first heaven, you know, with the Eden and all that stuff. And after the fall of Atlantis, especially, you know, which goes back to about 26,000 years, Luciferian covenant and all this kind of stuff, rebellion and all this stuff, they really, really zoomed on us. And they worked on these technologies, reversing God's mechanics. It's kind of like excuse me, electricity is a divine form of energy, but we can harness it and make a synthetic form of it. When you plug into the mains, that's synthetic electric energy, because you make electrons run through the, you know, wires, and once they start running through the wires, they create electricity. So you understand the principle that God did, and then you artificially make it. It's a copy, and they have really, really expanded their AI because it's their bread and butter. You know, they have
right.
If they don't, they die. Wow. They disappear. You know?
No, you can see. I can see it at least. It's scary, but anyways.
So
it was a pleasure.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for your service, for your effort, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoyed the
absolutely.
I just want to ask you before I leave: are there any questions you have pertinent to anything that you know, cloudy in your mind, whatever?
Not, really, believe it or not, I don't at the moment. And once we hang up, I'll probably think of 100. But I just wanted to thank you for your service, this opportunity, and I plan, my hope is to contribute more.
Well, my pleasure, my dear. What I would do suggest is that, yes, it is true. And that's why at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I get up and go to the computer and boom, 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 type. That's why they piled up 200 papers, because I've started papers and writing 40, 50 pages, and I don't even remember I wrote it. I sometimes fortuitously, I find them on the computer because I don't know where I put them. To be honest with you, I don't, because there's so much stuff on my computer, and fortuitously sometimes I did a research on something, and the title came. I said, "What is that?" And I went there. By the way, just recently I started writing 2 papers. There's a series of 5 or 6 are coming up. It was based upon something that I written. It was 60 pages of stuff I'd written. So I extracted them and wrote 2 papers, and the rest of it, But every time you have to have a theme, you have to have a stuff, and it's like redesigning, stuff. So a lot of information is put down, and sometimes it's too much to introduce in one, so you have to break it
Oh
apart
gosh, yeah.
into different topics and
Right.
stuff.
No, I understand.
So same thing for you, and you're going to get more and more and more. The more you are, you're active scholarly, you will think of this. My suggestion is just sit down and write them down. And to start
I
with
will.
your questions. So next time,
Okay.
I know what to discuss. I don't have to worry about it. And keep those in about 3, 4 of them that are already pertinent to the paper you want to read or whatever. And then we'll deal with that. We'll deal with this. There's so much to be said. A lot of this stuff are very interrelated. So like this discussion,
Yes.
even if 100% doesn't feel transparent to a person, next time you pick it up. So he said that, and he did this,
Right.
and I've read it there, and all this stuff. It's all a layering process, as I've always said. So
What I experienced myself, I love to read, and sometimes I come across things that I don't understand, including your papers, but I know it's here somewhere. And then one day it'll just connect, it'll just click. So yeah, I appreciate everything that you've written, even though I have to put it down sometimes and let it digest it. But yeah, appreciate it very much.
Don't be so. This is my suggestion to you. Don't be so. What is it? Demanding of yourself that right there you have to understand everything. Stuff. Read it.
Okay.
Say, okay, makes sense. We'll see.
Okay.
Before you do it, you're making a cup of coffee and say Allah. I mean,
Right. Yes. Yeah, I get. Yep.
That's how I get my stuff.
I've had those experiences. Yes.
And also you start opening up to the higher and higher dimensions. There's a lot of windows open right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I would. Yeah.
So you can, but you have to kind of develop a kind of a scheme and method for yourself to be
Okay.
successful. Taking a note.
Okay.
Okay, well, why not? Just at 5 minutes, let me just put it there. It's okay, and you're gonna find you're happy.
Okay.
I certainly do. That's how it led to all what I'm doing.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it very much.
That's a suggestion, my dear. You can.
Thank you.
Everybody has to do it their own way if they feel comfortable and all this stuff. But that works for me.
Exactly. Yes.
Very good. So
Thank you once again.
thank you very much.
Well, I hope we can do this again. I'm sorry. You go ahead, Mohsen.
That's okay. We will do this again. And what I'd like you to do is just think of the next paper you want to read. And
Okay.
and let me schedule you. Whether it's a week,
I will.
or whatever, you're going to be doing this. And then
Yes.
another thing that I probably failed to say, or maybe I did say, is that this program could potentially give people some direction in their social scholarship, in their path to enlightenment,
Mm-hmm.
because
Absolutely.
it's a plan. You say, I'm going to be online and I'm going to be doing this. And I mean, it's good, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've tried to be very isolated in the past because I wanted to produce.
Sure.
Be very, very, and sometimes you get to a point that of saturation because you physically get tired. You want something different.
No, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I hope that it will provide for that. It seems like it is from some of the comments that I'm hearing. And so, let's just schedule you now, next month, whatever, 2 months,
Okay.
whatever. Maybe even 2 or 3 of them. Actually, I do advise you to do this because other people ask for the same thing.
Yes.
You mentioned Melchizedek, right?
Yep.
Okay,
I found the papers. I did print them up. I think I read part of them. I haven't read all of it, but I'm going to reread them.
but the first paper, the introduction, is already spoken for. It's the paper that I believe Daryl Cezanne, or somebody else is going to be reading.
I see. Okay.
So, I will try not to do the
Yeah.
same paper if it's possible. There's several hundred papers in there. It's going to take us a long time before we can.
Right.
But we want to have
Right.
fun. We want to have fun. We want to, the greatest part of enlightenment is joy.
Yes.
Joy. It's the
True.
joy of enlightenment. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It is. I agree.
Okay, my dear. So thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I have a wonderful Sunday, and I hope that you'll have a beautiful day in commune with God. It's a good day.
Amen.
Sundays are special to me too, and I wish you a beautiful day with your family and everything.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I wish you the same.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
with that note, I'm going to end the program. Okay.
All righty.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.